Well, hello, everybody. Welcome into another episode of Marriage Matters with Ken and Shar. I'm Ken. She's Shar. How you doing today, babe?
I'm doing well.
You good?
I am. You know,
Awesome.
it's springtime, so I'm always...
It is so beautiful here outside right now.
It is. It's you just want to spend every moment outside.
Outside, I know.
It's not like we have harsh winters here, but
No, we don't.
still, when it's over, you just go, oh, this is so
When the sun
wonderful.
starts coming out and it gets warm, oh yeah.
Now when the roses start blooming.
Yeah.
Yes, and I am excited about this episode, but I'm more excited about our anniversary coming up.
We do. We're celebrating our 48th. We just celebrated, okay, get this. We just celebrated our 50th first date.
The first date that we stayed together.
Correct. Right.
We didn't have a breakup.
No
in between.
break. Yeah. Which was early, just a couple weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're celebrating our 48th wedding anniversary here in a few days.
Which I still can't believe we're that old.
No, when did that happen?
I don't know.
Oh,
but it did.
Man, it has gone fast. 48 years. That's pretty wild.
It is. I remember doing an episode last year for our 47th, and now here we are.
Really?
Another year so fast. I don't know if everybody's lives go as fast as ours seems to tick away right now, but it is. So I'm excited about going away and celebrating, and also to be doing this episode today.
I know. And we're wrapping up a series called Fighting Fair, which has hopefully just been getting some tools in your bag, gang, because there's going to be conflict. There's going to be what we call heated fellowship between husband and wife. It's inevitable that from time to time you get a little wonky, right?
And I don't want people that are listening think that we don't the same way.
Right.
So we all struggle through the same things.
Right.
Never think that someone has it over on you and they don't have the same issues that
struggles,
you have.
Yeah. Right.
Now, they might not have the same outcome because they might work on it a little differently.
Right.
But
the struggles are the same.
The struggles are the same. The temptation is the same.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to be in the middle of conflict and stop and be in the spirit at the same time. At least it is for me.
Yeah. We tend to default to our flesh. Let's admit it, right? We're fleshy creatures.
Yes, we do. And we all do. We all have that temptation to go there the bad way.
Yeah.
And then sometimes the Holy Spirit can get a hold of us and say, no, let's do it a different way this time.
Absolutely.
But you never want to. My spirit does, but not me.
Yeah. So in case you've missed it, things that we've covered so far in the first 6 parts of this series are perspective is everything. We tend to think that our take is always the right take. We talked about being angry but not sinning in our anger, which is a real biblical key of how to manage ourselves in tough times as husbands and wives. We talked about tend to your own eye first, which means you get your beam out of your own eye before you go after the little speck in your partner's eye. We mentioned speaking the truth in love, which is kind of the basic calling that we have, where I'm always need to speak truthfully with Charlene and share what I'm feeling and what's going on, and her with me, but we must do it in love. And this is where we get hung up. It comes out real poorly, right? And we challenge one another and it's hurtful. And we talked about not playing the fool. We talked about what constitutes a fool in the Bible when it comes to arguing and fanning the flames of contention. And in this episode, we want to talk about being of one mind. And we're going to do something a little unique. A lot of times, we share stories and experiences, but we're just going to wrap this series up with a little chunk of Bible, right? And let God's word kind of speak to us here. So we call this one Be of One Mind. And it comes from a passage in 1 Peter chapter 3, verses 8 through about 12 that we're going to read. So I'm going to let Charlene read that.
Okay.
Now let me, you may be, a lot of people right now are driving in cars, listening to this, or they're cleaning the house somewhere or sitting at their desk at work and multitasking. So if you can't bust your Bible out, if you can, we suggest you do that. But right now we're just going to read it to you.
Okay. Finally, all of you be of one mind, having compassion for one another. Love as brothers, be tenderhearted, be courteous, not returning evil for evil or reviling for reviling, but on the contrary, blessing. knowing that you were called to this, that you may inherit a blessing. For he who would love life and see good days, let him refrain his tongue from evil and his lips from speaking deceit. Let him turn away from evil and do good. Let him seek peace and pursue it. For the eyes of the Lord are on the righteous, and his ears are open to their prayers, but the face of the Lord is against those who do evil.
Now it's interesting there because he's making his point, and he quotes an Old Testament passage from the 34th Psalm there, when he talks about, look, if any man would love to see life and good days, let him refrain from evil. So he incorporates that and includes it in his thought about being courteous and how to handle interpersonal relationships. Now, in case somebody's out there thinking, okay, that's a long way from a marriage topic, right? That's just a general, did we just kind of cherry pick this verse on seeking peace and kind of jamming it in the marriage context, right? But it's really interesting because what Peter does in 1 Peter in chapter 2, if you look back a chapter, he's talking about suffering injury at the hands of another. How does the Christian handle being ill-treated? Big question.
Are you asking me?
Yeah, I am asking
Not
you.
very well.
Not very well. That's how we handle it. So, and he kind of then sets forth Jesus as our example, who was, insulted and mocked and scoffed and didn't return evil for evil or reviling for reviling. So the general topic of the chapter before this, in chapter 2, is how to handle bad treatment or ill treatment. Then right at the beginning of chapter 3, he narrows the focus to husbands and wives. So this does have to do with marriage. Peter himself goes after that complex relationship and goes, okay, now wives. And for the first 6 verses of chapter 3, he counsels wives with wisdom. And then in verse 7, he turns to husbands and talks to husbands. And then we just picked up our text in verse 8, where he says, finally. And these are his final thoughts concerning how to handle tense moments with others or difficult challenges with others. And he says, finally, all of you be of one mind. Right?
Well, don't you think the most conflict that there is in a marriage conflict or family, marriage and family?
Oh,
because we're with
24/7.
Yes, we're with each other all the time.
Yeah.
And it tends to have more opportunity for conflict.
Absolutely. Yep.
So,
oh yeah, I think the home life look, I know so many, and I've probably been this guy that can put on a smiley face and be everybody's best friend and good guy in the office, and then come home and stink up my own house. I mean, this is real common, tragically.
Well, I think the home life shows really the person that you are.
Yep.
And the commitment to Jesus Christ.
Right.
In your home.
Oh, yeah.
And the ministry, how you look at your home life as a ministry, so you can minister the Jesus to other people.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's kind of walk through this thing a little bit, kind of give some little guideline from it and break it out a little bit. We're first faced with 3 different positive instructions that come in verse 8. He says, finally, my final thoughts here, all of you, not just some of you, not what? You spiritual giants, but
you pastors.
That's right. It's everybody who is married. Be of one mind, having compassion for one another, love as brothers, be tenderhearted, be curious. We're going to break that up into 3 different pieces. Number 1, be of one mind.
When I was sitting here and reading that, first I said, what does that mean? Be of one mind.
Right.
And
that's hard to do.
When you think about it, when you really think about be of one mind, we don't say that often. Come on, let's have the same mind. We don't do that.
By the way, neither does the scripture deal with it very much. That word, one-mindedness or one mind, is a compound word that only Peter uses it, and he uses it only one time right here.
Wow.
And it means...
So what does it mean?
Well, it means to walk together in harmony, to be targeting the same thing or heading in the same direction at the same time, to be of one mind. It doesn't mean we lose our individuality.
Right.
look, we're different people. They're going to have different takes. We've talked about that many times and have a different perspectives and points of view on many, many things. But Charlene, you and I want the same thing, right? That's what one
Most of the time.
single-mindedness or one-mindedness is. It means that
Right.
we're heading for the same objective. We want peace in our
Well,
home.
that's
We
true.
want the joy of the
Yes.
Lord here. We
Right.
want to honor Jesus
Mhm.
here in
Right.
our married life, in our household, our family life. So it
It's
kind of
almost like a family mission,
yes,
a couple mission,
big time.
it's like your
That's a great
mission
yep,
statement.
yeah. The opposite would be a husband and his wife operating with two completely different agendas. Now
Oh.
this happens easily because if my agenda is for me to be happy all the time,
Mhm,
for
mhm,
me to get what I want all the time, which
mhm.
is the flesh,
Right.
to be self-serving, completely selfish and
Mhm.
self-motivated, then we're going to find, and that's you too,
Right.
then we don't want the same things. I want my propers, you
Mhm,
want your propers,
mhm.
and we're going to find ourselves in constant conflict over getting what respect we think we want, getting our way, uh, right? So the only way people honestly can become one-minded, and really the word is harmonious, to
Mhm,
live in lockstep together in
mhm.
harmony, is that if I am over myself, that agenda of me being self-serving is done, right?
As you say that, I I'm at one mind with you a lot. This is what I think when I'm reading this, when we're getting along,
Right,
and then if I'm irked at you for some reason, but I don't wanna be of one mind.
right.
See, because I think when I'm reading this, I realize how fleshy I really am.
Sure.
I'm fine when everything's good and it's going great, and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, that sounds so easy." You read these scriptures, "Oh,
Right. No
of
pressures,
course,
no comp yeah,
yes," and then all of a sudden, I'm overwhelmed with busyness of life
I'm irritating you.
or no, just busyness of life, and I
Yeah.
have one more thing to do, and, I get
We
put
get
out.
very self-focused and
Yeah, I get
self-minded.
very
Yeah, we do.
that's you know what? That's a good word. I get very
Self-focused,
self-focused,
absolutely.
and
And as long as I'm self-focused, we're
yeah,
not gonna be of one
you're
mind.
totally right.
The only way that's gonna happen is if I'm you
Yeah,
focused and you're
yeah,
me focused.
mhm.
At that point, we're wanting the same things, harmonious living and a peaceful life and a unity, right?
But when you read these scriptures, you go, "Oh, yeah, that sounds so good." At
Oh,
least when I
one
do,
mind.
"Oh, this is so wonderful," and then it's like, you know what? It's harder
Oh,
than when you just read it. You go, "Oh, yeah,
yeah,
this is hard stuff."
because our default isn't that.
No, it isn't.
Right?
No,
So let's hang a little flesh on this real quick. So what we're encouraging, I think, as you listen to this is just ask yourself, am I and my husband, are we in lockstep? Do
Mhm,
we want the same things? Or
mhm,
have I drifted into a self-focused,
mhm.
self-serving mindset and is he or she? Have a dialogue, talk about it and
Right.
say, babe, do we want the same things here?
Well, I think and when you drift, you're all gonna drift or we're all gonna drift a little bit here and there. It's just
Sure.
how quickly do we come back
Right.
and not stay there in that drift and then drift further and further and
Right.
further. And I I mean, I like talking about this because it helps our marriage definitely to be in more
Oh, well,
unity.
how many times we talk about these
Uh-huh.
things? Even this, if we were to just stop here today,
Right. I could
talk
use
about
this just today.
being one-minded,
Mhm.
right? Together-minded, and
Right.
then I mean, we talk about this when we hang up the mics and the mics are turned off.
Mhm.
We talk about this for an hour later, going, "Are we that, babe?" And we have these discussions all the time.
Well, I even told, Ken not long ago, yesterday, I think, because I have been a little overwhelmed lately just with, no normal life circumstances. And, I said, "Okay, when we go away on our little vacation trip for our anniversary, we need to take some of our little tools that we teach and go over this."
Sure,
Because I feel like in a couple areas, we need to be of one mind. I guess
that's what you're feeling.
that's what I'm
We're out
feeling.
of sorts.
Right, we're not on the
We're not
same
wanting the same
page.
things here.
Right, so we're not on the same page in all these little spheres of our
Yeah,
life. How do we do that so we can just be more unified?
absolutely.
So, hey, this
So,
is this is wonderful for me.
so again, we're looking at three positive exhortations
Mhm,
here in verse 8. One,
mhm.
be of one mind. So if you're not right now, gang, have that conversation. Decide together. Look, we're going to be in lockstep. We want to see Jesus glorified. We want a home that's filled with peace and joy, right? And a richness in the Lord.
Right.
So talk about those things, what we encourage. Number 2, he says, having compassion for one another. I love that. Why are you laughing?
I just, it's these things you hear, like you think about it for other people, but then when you put it in the perspective of marriage, how much compassion do I show to you?
Yeah.
As I show to other people. I show to other people that are hurting or just having a tough time, but do I show that compassion to my husband and my children? And
that's a good point.
So really, how compassionate am I across the board?
Other translations have that word sympathy, having sympathy for one another. Look, most people, let me just speak for men here. There's a desire to be acknowledged for the burdens we carry. We carry a lot. So do women. So do moms and mothers and women. And they work out of the home, and some are homemakers. But whatever, we all carry a lot of responsibility and burden sometimes. Life can be very heavy. A lot of times just our partners acknowledging how much I appreciate you laboring under what you labor under.
Right.
That's what this word has kind of at its core, is I acknowledge that your life isn't always easy, and I can sympathize with the burdens you carry, and that Shar can sympathize with the burdens I carry. Man, that goes a long way.
Well, I think because when life starts getting big and a lot of responsibility, the older we get, we have more responsibility at work and in ministry, in our family life with children, and then eventually grandchildren, and then you have your family gets big. Ours is 19. And we start thinking, I'm saying, speaking for me, I get overwhelmed and I forget that you're going through your own stuff. Your life's big too. And I think it should all be about me. And it's not. And I love that, having compassion for one another, like you just said.
And sympathize for one another.
Just saying, I know life's hard for you
and
right
you might
now.
You might be listening and going, well, I don't know that I do. Well, then look, go home today and just tell your partner, babe, I appreciate you so much. So much. I know you labor under heaviness like I do in this world, and I care about you. Man, gang, that just goes a long way.
It does.
Right?
It really does.
It kind of diffuses the tension.
It does, because you go, he gets it, or she gets it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm not in this alone.
Right.
I think that is what you need, is you need someone in there with you. You have the Lord, but having someone to put their arms around you and say, I understand that it's hard. Now
remember, all this has to do with fighting fair. That's the series here. And really today is just all about how to diffuse that kind of adversarial, disunified thing we can get into with our spouses.
Very easily.
There's be of one mind, having compassion for one another. And then lastly, in 1 Peter 3:8, he says, love as brothers. And then he gives 2 different explanations for that. He kind of describes what brotherly love he's talking about here with 2 words. 1, be tender-hearted, and 2, be courteous or kind. Now, the word tender-hearted is just to me, such a rich word. It's a compound word that one of it is the inner part of a man, and the other is the word good. So it's having a good inner heart towards that other person. To the inside of me, desire to do good to you. And desire that your life is good. Good-hearted, tender-hearted. It's a little bit different than compassion or sympathy. It's, I want your best. My heart desires you to live a blessed, rich, full life.
Not wanting to have payback for someone.
Right. Well, the opposite of tender-hearted would be, I look at you like a utility to make my life better. You're in my life, and your place in my life is to make me happier, versus I'm tenderhearted towards you. I want you rich and fulfilled.
That's a great word.
Right? Tenderhearted. Isn't that good?
That's a
It means
sweet
my
word.
heart is moved by you.
Yeah.
I
It's like I
desire
just
good
it's
for you.
like our children. I think we have an easier time wanting that for our children, being tenderhearted towards our children. We want the best for them. We want them to succeed. We want them to have the most richest blessed life there is.
Right on.
But sometimes we don't feel that way with our husbands or our wives.
Right.
But we can easily just feel that way for our children. I don't know. What's the difference there?
Well, I don't know. There's
I
a
don't know.
maternal,
I
paternal thing
guess.
for our kids.
Yeah.
How we end up in such,
How the Lord feels about us.
yeah, an adversarial thing with our spouses.
Yeah.
It's just, but it's common.
Yeah.
This is why we're addressing
Yes,
this,
it
right?
is. Yes.
Okay, so those are the 3 positive kind of encouragements.
Are you gonna go over courteous?
Yeah. Oh, by the way,
Oh,
courteous.
yeah.
Okay, tenderhearted and courteous. Courteous, you see, be kind.
Yeah.
Which isn't it terrible that the Bible has to remind us to be kind? That's pretty pathetic, right?
Because he knows our hearts.
I know. Just be kind,
Human
man.
nature, oh gosh.
If you find yourself even today, right now, and your marriage is suffering from some disunity and some discord, just, dude, go home and be kind.
You know what?
Just be kind.
What this reminds me of, it's so funny. This last week, like I said, it's been a little hard for me at times, and I can be not unkind.
Right.
Like I won't be unkind to you, but am I being kind? That's 2 different things.
Right.
So, because kindness is an act that you pursue. But if I'm overwhelmed with life or whatever, I'm just not being kind. I'm not being unkind,
right,
but I'm not being kind.
No, exactly.
Benign is
Right.
not okay.
Neutral, yeah.
Yes, neutral is not okay. Because that is not being kind.
Right.
So being kind takes actions. Yes.
Just being indifferent.
I can be indifferent.
Right.
Yeah.
Indifferent doesn't work.
No. So that's a good word for me today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be tenderhearted and kind. And then he turns a bit of a corner, and in verse 9 of this simple little text here, he gives us 2 negative. He contributes 2 things not to do or not to be. And he says, do not return evil for evil or reviling for reviling. So those 2 things, this is where we get into trouble.
This is with the fighting thing. This is where we get into it.
Where it goes hit for hit, punch for punch, right? I'm not literally punching, but jab for jab. This is what we're called not to do. Even when I feel injured, even when I feel wounded or hurt, I'm not to entitle myself to hurt in return. That's returning evil for evil or reviling for reviling.
But that is the hardest thing to do. So you just have to say, I'm not going to be that.
No, you can't. Look, for me, this is, I can only speak for me. So many times I have felt the Holy Spirit impressing upon my heart that I'm never entitled. I don't care what injury I've incurred or what insult or little feeler I got hurt, right? I'm never entitled to hurt you. And when I do, I'm in error, and I need to turn from that, admit it, and take ownership of it and responsibility for it and course correct it. I'm never entitled. I don't get a freebie. I'm never entitled
because of what I did or what a spouse does.
Nope.
You're not entitled to give that back.
And this goes back to, doesn't it? Where we normally start with marriage stuff is the vow. If you review our promise, it was to love you, honor you, cherish you, for better, for worse. Listen to that language. Richer, for poor, sickness and health, to love, honor, and cherish until one of us dies. So it was unconditional. I promised to treat you with love, respect, and to cherish you no matter what. Now, if I wanted to entitle myself to hurt you in return when I feel hurt, I needed to say that 48 years ago. Say, well, yeah, I'll treat you with love long as you do first, right?
Well,
long as you never injure me or, frustrate me.
Well, and we're not saying that you can't speak to someone some things that need to be said, but just not in the same spirit, because it's not going to produce anything.
Sure.
So it's not like you just take it and you don't, you don't address it. It's just that you don't return evil for evil.
Right. And the example of that over and over again in the Bible is Jesus, who,
You're right.
The crown of thorns and
Right.
the spat upon and the mockery that he endured, like a sheep before his shearers, right, didn't speak a word. So he is that example where I don't have to, neither do you, babe, ever have to return evil for evil.
Right.
We can suffer an injury and move on.
Well, you can speak the truth in love.
That's the alternative.
Right. You still need to speak and get over these things.
Right.
But you do not have to just you yourself enter into sinning.
Somebody's got to diffuse this thing.
Somebody has to do it.
Right.
Yep.
That's when it gets spiraling that way. And look, you couples,
it can go.
You couples know what we're talking about. We're on a bad night, man.
Yeah, it can
this
go bad.
Thing can spiral. You're saying things you wish you'd never said, and it's going back and forth, injury for injury. Look, somebody has to stop that dark trajectory.
Right.
And the way you do that is to speak the truth, but always in love. And that's where it has to stop. And in couples where nobody can have enough self-control to do that, man, can it get ugly.
Right.
It can get really painful.
And remember, we have little listeners. A lot of you have little children that are listening to you. And they're there. They're there in that house with you. And someone has to stop. And they need to know that someone is not going to just go there all the time and let it be you. Let it be be the one.
Lastly, and we're going to run out of time here, so we're going to turn a corner. The last thing Peter does here is interesting. He quotes the 34th Psalm, starting at verse 12 there. It's filled with really a couple prohibitions that we're reminded of in that 34th Psalm, or exhortations, I guess. Number 1, turn away from evil and do good. Do you see that there? For he who would love life and see good days, 1 Peter 3:10, let him refrain his tongue from evil and his lips from speaking deceit. Let him turn away from evil and do good. So we're going to end with these 2 exhortations today. They're simple. And if we just did this every day, our heated fellowship would look completely different, right? Number 1, turn away from evil and instead do good to one another. Just do good, right? I love that.
It sounds so easy.
I know. And well,
I guess it kind of is.
It kind of is. Just do good to one another.
Yeah.
Just stop it, right?
I like the next one, number 3, seek peace.
Seek peace, but seeking it. Shar and I were just having this discussion before we opened the mics. Seeking peace is awesome. That's that part of our heart that goes, God, I just want peace in my home. Can't we just get along?
Our son said that once.
Right. Can't we all just get along? I think our hearts do seek peace, right? By nature, we want that, right?
Yes.
But then it goes on to say, and pursue it. Now that's different.
Seek peace and pursue it.
Right. I can seek peace, but if I never engage the pursuit of it, where I'm willing to lay down arms here, man, and not say what I want to say, not let those things exit my lips, not roll my eyes, not give Charlene the pound sand attitude in my body language. Seeking peace and pursuing it is a big deal, right? We should all be peace pursuing all the time.
I love that. I'm just going to remember that, to pursue peace in all circumstances.
Right on.
Pursue it.
So that's our final exhortation, is just simply put, those 2 simple things, right?
Sounds simple.
Turn from evil, turn from injuring one another, turn from all that, and instead do good and seek peace. And don't just seek it, but with everything in you, pursue it, right?
Because I do know that in the human heart, people want peace.
They do. Boy, I tell you, I'm just sitting here thinking as we wrap this up that 2 people, a husband and a wife, who are turning from evil and doing good to one another, and not just seeking peace, but pursuing it every day. That's a powerful marriage.
It is.
That marriage has unity.
Well, they're of one mind.
One mind.
And it takes you back to that.
Right on.
It's like, this is what we want for our marriage.
Circle.
Yeah, this is what we want. This is how we achieve it.
Yep.
So, it's a good word today.
Go and want the same things. Get on
The same page.
lockstep
Yep.
with each other in the same direction for the
Mhm.
same high goal, and seek peace, and with all your heart pursue it every day.
And you'll
Right
be
on.
blessed. You will be blessed.
Well, God bless you guys. Thanks for tuning in today. Until next time, your marriage really does matter.
Bye-bye.